Hello and welcome. This is the start of week 2 of Excel World Cup bootcamp that I'm doing with Giles Mail. And I thought that this would be a good time in the proceedings to actually spend some time on a case. And I picked out one of the cases, one of the cases which is free, have I mentioned they're free, between now and when the first battle of the year comes around, and also one of the few from last year that I have not actually made a video on. So this is not going to be like my normal walkthrough videos where I kind of zip on through. Today we're going to be kind of slowing down, thinking about, I'm going to try and do a little bit of kind of helping you think through how would you tactically approach it, that kind of thing, and also just, spelling out in a little more detail than I usually do my thought process around formulas. So this case is called Bear Island. It's by Harry Seiders. Harry is a case writing genius. As you'll see when you see this one of the things that I really like about Harry's cases is that the instructions are super simple. They're super clear. And this isn't, a slight against anybody else who writes cases, but some of the cases are by their nature very complicated, and there's this sort of very intimidating wall of text. And here there's a few sentences. So let's read them. Instructions. Bear Island is known for its beautiful landscape and for being home to 3 types of bears. There's an asterisk here to a footnote because Harry is, I guess, a very precise person. Technically, a koala is not a bear, but let's pretend they are for this puzzle. Uh, you've decided to open a shop on the island where you will sell picnic baskets to the tourists. But you have a secret. You have made a deal with the bears. If a bear steals and returns a picnic basket you sold, you will provide the bear with a treat of their choice for level 3 and 4 only. You offer the following. That's 2 different misspellings of basket. I never noticed before, which goes to show that my normal mode is to skim the instructions quite quickly. But anyway, you offer the following baskets for sale. Take note that all baskets include the basket itself, a picnic blanket, paper plates, cups, napkins, and utensils. Also, a bottle of wine can be added to any of the baskets for an additional fee of $40. So here is the list of the baskets for sale. We've got a berry basket for 140 whatevers, which includes strawberries, blueberries, and raspberries, and then so on. You've got the list of all the other baskets and all the other things they include. We've got the list of bears on the island. So there's koala bears, panda bears, black bears. Symbols. Now you'll notice there's no symbol here, but if you watched my last video, which talked among other things about emojis, you'll know that if you just press Alt-HW to undo text wrapping, you'll see the symbols appear. So there's a koala bear, a panda bear, and a black bear. They have a range. We'll get to that later, and a preferred treat, which is eucalyptus, bamboo, or raspberries. And then we have a list of items and costs here. So apples cost 9, assorted cheeses cost 15, assorted nuts cost 6, and so on down. So let's go look at the questions we're going to need to answer. So we'll skip over the bonuses for now. Let's just go on to the main questions. So how much revenue will the following sales make? So if you sell this kind of basket and this many of them, so you sell a hungry basket with wine added, and you sell 3 of them, that's supposed to be 600 in revenue. So let's see, a hungry basket is here, that's 160, and if you add wine, that adds another fee of 40, so that would be 200 per basket, times 3 would be your 600. So that checks out, good. Then level 2, how much profit will be made from the following sales? Profit equals revenue minus costs. No need to worry about the bears. So here the hungry basket with wine added, 3 of those makes a profit of 150, so we must be looking for a profit of 50 per basket, and we know that they sell for 200 per basket, so we must be looking at costs of 150. So let's figure out what would the hungry basket costs be. This one, I will say, the instructions are tight, but this one did trip me up initially. It took me a while to figure out because I basically went and priced each of these items based on this list, but that wasn't nearly enough. But again, it's because I had skipped these instructions up here that said, take note that all baskets include the basket, picnic blanket, paper plates, cups, napkins, and utensils. So basically we're going to need to figure out the price of all these things, plus the price of all those things that are in every basket, and use that to figure out how much profit we make on each of these things. Then for level 3, how much profit will you make from the following sales? Assume the bear steals the basket and returns it, so you don't have to pay any costs except the cost of the bear's treat. And again, we're going to need to unwrap text here to be able to see the symbol of the different kinds of bears. And then level 4, below is a list of a basket sold and the tourist's picnic location. So you sell a hungry basket with wine at location L5. The map of, so determine if the tourist location is within the range of a bear. If it is, the bear will steal and return the basket. figure out the total profit for each sale, factoring in any bear thievery, and the map of the bear locations is on a separate tab. So here we have the map of the island. So that first location was L5, which is over here. And then you saw in the instructions it mentioned range in any direction, 1 for the koala, 2 for the panda and the black bear, but it's also illustrated over here. So you can see the range of black bears is this, and the range of pandas is this, and the range of koalas is that. So that L5, I think that was here, is going to be in the range of a koala, so a koala will steal it and bring it back, so your only cost is a koala treat. So, sorry, I meant to start the timer when I actually started, so I'm just going to get rid of the timer, I guess, because that's not really very relevant anyway. So that's the setup. There is a level 5, but I'm not going to talk about that right now because that sort of goes off in a different direction. And again, we've talked about this before, that we're aiming this more at people trying to get a few levels on the board. So let's start light. So how much revenue do the following sales make? You've got different kinds of baskets, some with wine added, and you've got different quantities. So you just need to be able to figure out if you have either one of these baskets or one of these baskets with the text with wine added at the end, then how much are they going to cost? Now, the easiest thing to do here is, first I'm just going to cut this and put it somewhere else. I'll just copy, paste column widths just for aesthetics, and then I will cut this and move it over here, because the easiest way to deal with this is just going to be to have a lookup table that has all 6 baskets and then all 6 baskets with wine added below. So I'm just going to say, I'll do it in one go. So this and with, let me just check the exact wording as it is down here, with wine added. And then the cost of adding wine is an additional fee of 40. So we'll just take all of this and say plus 40. And then, now, this one is a little more generous than average. One thing that you have to watch out for sometimes is to make things look nice. They will often have something spanning multiple cells, and what they often do is have it looking like this with those cells merged. And so if you go to name this range, which I'm about to do, I'm a fan of naming ranges. It makes it a lot easier to kind of reference cells up here without having to keep scrolling, up and down. If you name this range, it's going to name 2 columns. And so if you try to do a match against that 2 columns, it doesn't like that. So Harry was actually nice to us here. Sorry, I'll just hit undo so we keep the, never mind, we've lost the formatting. So let's, okay, never mind. So in this case, the cells were not merged. It was just formatted as center across selection, which means that it's easier to name just this cell. So we've got our 12 different types of basket, berry basket, all the way down to bucket basket, and then everything with wine added. So I'm just going to name that. I'll call it Basque name. And I'm going to name this column Basque price. And that's just going to make the lookups a little bit easier to do. So then here, we're just going to say X lookup. And again, if you don't know your lookups, the basic functions, Giles is going to cover all those this week. So we're going to X lookup berry basket in basket name, returning from basket price, and we're going to multiply that by the quantity. And hooray, that all checks out. So now it gets a little more complicated here, because for this we have to, we got to figure out the profit now, which means we know the revenue, so we need to figure out the cost. And for the cost, we need to figure out the cost of each of these items, and also the cost of the shared items. So let's talk about this. We've just done text week, so let's try and do this a smart way. You've got a nice comma separated list here, so let's start off by saying text split this on the delimiter comma space, and that gives us our 3 different things there. Now, you might be tempted to then say, okay, let's X look up each one of these into the food list and whatever. But you don't need to do that because XLOOKUP can deal just fine with an array of inputs. So we can just wrap this in XLOOKUP. So we look up all of those values that you get by splitting the text in, I'm not going to be referring to this table very often, which is the only reason I'm not taking the time to name it. So in this list of items, returning from this list of costs. And that tells us strawberries are 6, blueberries are 7, raspberries are 4. Let's just do a quick check. Strawberries are 6, raspberries are 4, blueberries are 7. So that's all good. So then the cost of the items specific to this basket is just going to be the sum of those. And we can do that same formula for each of those. And then for these, we need the same thing, but adding the cost of wine, which is 18. So this is just going to be equal to all the cells above plus 18. But now, well, let's just go with this for a second. So we'll call this cost, and we'll call this profit. So then price minus cost will give us profit. That's the profit per basket. So we'll name this, I guess, basket prof. So then let's do this. XLOOKUP vary basket in basket name returning from basket profit, and multiply it by the quantity, and we get the wrong answer. We get something that's much too big. And this is where, like I said, on the day I got a little confused by this for a while. But you go look at the instructions, there's a bunch of other things that all baskets include that aren't listed separately here. So we got to figure out the cost of those. And the easiest way to do that, given the setup we already have, is just to grab this list. Now, you'll notice that this list, or you'll notice if you're attuned to these things at least, that this list is not as neatly formatted as the other ones. So here you've got just perfectly delineated, everything is comma space. Here you've got the basket itself. Let's see, here it's just called basket. So I just want that to say basket. You've got a picnic blanket. I don't want a, so get rid of that. And then down at the end you've got and utensils, but obviously the thing in here is just called utensils. So I'm going to get rid of that. And now what we're left with is just a nice comma separated list, exactly like the ones up above, that we have a nice formula for pricing. So we'll go price this. All the shared things cost $101 per basket. And that means that to each of these 6, we need to add that one from down below. So I'm just going to lock the reference so that it'll point to that same cell when I fill it in. Control Enter to fill in for all of them, or you can just fill it in one and copy down. And then these ones are just adding 18, so they're already factoring in all the shared things. So now if we come and look down here, this formula is now giving us the right answer. We can fill that down. So that's the first 2 levels. I haven't been keeping track of time. We're probably, I'm sure we've got some time left, but we're certainly going at a casual pace here. But that's okay. So how much profit will be made from the following sales if a bear steals the basket and returns it to you? So here we'd be interested in, first, what's the revenue, and then what's the cost of the bear treat. And the revenue is going to be a function of the basket sold and the quantity, which is actually exactly the formula that we had up here. So I'm just going to copy that down. I'll put it in here, even though that'll give me the wrong answer, but then I can just, I copied the cell and pasted in here so that the references would copy down. But now I'm going to copy the formula text and put it over here so that the references stay exactly the same rather than moving to cells to the right of here. So now we've got, that's the revenue, and then we just need to figure out the cost of the bear treat. So this kind of bear, search on the Unicode character, that's a koala bear, it's interested in eucalyptus. So let's just figure out, again, same formula as before. Just the thing to be aware of here is, again, luckily they're not merged cells, but the text is actually in the leftmost cell because it's centered across selection. So when we go to do our lookup, don't put it there, even though that seems to contain the word eucalyptus, we'll put it over here. We'll look that up in the list of prices, returning from the list of costs. And actually, I don't even need to do a formula and copy down for this. I can just expand this because, again, XLOOKUP is happy with ranges. Giles will tell you more about that before long. So then here, I'm going to call this bear symbol, bear sim, and I'm going to call this bear cost. Okay, so then the cost of bear treats is going to be XLOOKUP this in, and remember, we talked about this a couple of days ago, emojis, you can look them up just like anything else. So look up bear sim in bear cost, and we're going to multiply that by the quantity. So if we need bears to steal 3 baskets for us, then it's going to be 3 times the cost. And as you can see, this is a lot cheaper than buying baskets. So let's just quickly check. 600 minus 36 gives us the 564, so it's good. You won't have this this thing telling you live if each answer you put in is correct or not in when you're doing it on the day, but you will have this to tell you that the answer here should be 564. So you can check, and if that matches, that will help to give you some confidence. We'll talk more about process on the day as we get closer to the time of the first battle. But for now, we should just be able to say, yes, revenue minus cost, and that's all good. So now level 4 is a bit of a twist. So below is a list of baskets sold and the tourist's picnic location. So we have a hungry basket with wine at it, and the location is L5. Determine if the tourist's location is within range of a bear. If it is, the bear will steal and return the basket. And list the total profit for each sale, factoring in any bear thievery. Map of bear locations on separate tab. Now, like I said, I haven't been keeping track of time. I'm guessing we're probably something like 20 minutes in, 10 minutes left. So there's more you could do here, but if you find yourself in a situation like this where you're getting down to the wire on time, you've got workings up here that will work some of the time. So like not all of these are going to be in a bear location. So if you just use your workings from above to figure out what is your profit for each of these baskets, if there's no bear thief, it won't get you all of them, but it'll get you some of them. So let's just do that. Let's say we were running out of time. So we'd look that up in basket name, returning from basket profit. And this is the profit if there is no bear thief. So you can see we miss a lot of the points there, but we've got almost half of them right with no additional work done beyond what we did for the first 3 levels. So again, we probably have time to work this level out, but this is when you're short on time, it's worth thinking about, is there something I can carry over without any changes? And it won't get you everything right, but it'll get you a lot. It's not always the case that there is, but in this case there is. And then level 5 is totally different. I'll talk about that maybe right at the end. The other thing that's worth looking at if you're getting short on time is look at the bonuses, because the nature of the levels is, I mean, sometimes you can do a trick like I just showed you there to say, well, maybe you'll be able to get half the points. But a lot of the time, either you do the work to solve a level completely, and then you get, in this case, 220 points, 20 questions times 11 points, which is a lot, or you don't have time to solve the question, and then you don't get it. Whereas with the bonuses, they're smaller points, but they're often going to be shorter. So, for example, here, what is the total number of sharks and bears on the map, excluding any legends or bear ranges? So in other words, there are bears here, but don't count these bears over here. The shark thing is interesting. I spent a lot of time thinking about this on the day because this to me looked, let's just make it a little bigger so we can really see, looked very much like a dolphin. Although what I noticed today for the first time is that actually in the formula bar it looks just like a shark. Anyway, I spent a while wondering whether this was some kind of weird trick question that you were supposed to count, that there were no sharks. But now that I know Harry's style a little better, I know that he would not ask a trick question like that. He asks very fair questions. So I'm just going to copy and value paste each of the bears here, and then we're going to count how many times each of them occurs on the map. So we got our black bear, panda bear, koala bear, and then this guy is our shark/dolphin. And then we can use a countif. Again, remember that emojis work just fine with a countif. So we'll count this range, how many times you get that. And then you can either lock that and copy it down, or if you know that countif is perfectly happy with a range of inputs, you can just do that. And then sum them up, and you get 15. So put in 15 there, and you get 50 points. So that's the kind of thing you can look at if you're getting short on points. The other thing is sometimes there's things like this that just reference the results of a level. So I skipped over reading the bonuses at the start, but it is worth taking a few seconds just to see. Sometimes if you see a question like this, list the game number in level 2 that has the smallest amount of gross margin dollars, then it's well worth thinking to yourself, okay, as soon as I'm done with level 2, I should go get that. And so let's just see. You might not have all 5 of these by default, but if you right-click down here, just make sure that they're all ticked off. It's very, very helpful for quick things like this. So here, you can quickly see the minimum is 84, and then you can spot it right there. And if you want to double check, you can select the rest and just see, yes, the minimum is 87, so it's not that there's multiple minima, so it's game 12. So we'll go type that in, and then we're all happy. We've got 550 points. It's a pretty decent score. And then let's see how much of level 4 we can actually get out. So, oh yeah, so this is where we need to think about the ranges of the bears. So you could write a formula to figure out, for each cell, is this cell within 2 of a panda or other things like that. But that's quite hard. And so the easier thing to do is going to be uh, just to copy paste. So if you're ever going to kind of mess with the original source data, just make a copy. I'll just call this bears, and then we're just going to copy this guy. So you can look here, he's got a range of 2 above, 2 below, 2 left, 2 right. So we'll go diagonally up 2, then shift and arrows to select down all around him, paste, and then we'll just copy that whole 25 squares, paste it there. And a good sense check, actually, this count is a good sense check. So we should have, we're doing panda bears right now, so we should have 4 panda bears. When I did the original Bear Island case, I missed at least 1 bear. I think I missed a bear down here at the bottom or something like that. So we can see we've got 4 panda bear setups here, and that's what we're supposed to have. So now we should have 5 black bears. So again, we'll just select, boom, copy here, put it in there, put it in there, put it in there, and this is where, if it's off the screen, it's easy to miss. There's 1 more, so we put that there. And then finally, koala bears. So we should have, that's this little guy, 3 of those. So again, and this time, smaller range for a koala, just a 3x3 box. So I'll just do that, copy, and then a second one here, and a third one here. Okay, so now we want to know what bear is on here. So I'll just add bear, and then again, either Giles or I will be teaching you in the course of the week, if you don't already know it, how to do an indirect. But basically an indirect lets you take a text string and turn it into a reference. So what should a reference to cell L5 on the bear map look like? It should look like this. And honestly, this is how I do indirect half the time, depending on how much I've been practicing recently. So then we're just going to wrap that in indirect, quotes, close quotes, and then instead of the L5, we just want to have concatenate that string with whatever string is here, and that'll give you the bear or no bear. Okay, so then we want to figure out the bear cost, and to do that we're going to XLOOKUP this in our bear symbol, returning from bear cost. And here now, again, we'll talk about the details of XLOOKUP later, but if it's not found, we're just going to say NA. Copy that down. So now we want the basket cost, sorry, the basket revenue. Well, we want the profit. Let's do basket rev, and that's going to be XLOOKUP this basket in basket name, returning from basket price. So we sell the basket for 200, and then we're either interested in the cost of the basket or the revenue minus the bear cost. So what I'm going to say is, if this bear cost is equal to NA, and that will happen if this does not match against the list of bear symbols, in other words, if there is no bear, then I just want the profit for this type of basket with no bear. So that's going to be XLOOKUP this in basket name, returning from basket profit. But if there is a bear, then it's the revenues of the basket minus the cost of the bear treat. And we can fill that down and just check this 188 matches the example. So then we fill this in, and now we're in pretty good shape. We've got 770 points. That is a good score for Bear Island. So just to quickly show you, I'm not going to try to solve it now because again, we're staying focused for this course. But for level 5, oh no, the bears are leading an uprising against your unethical business practices. Determine how long it will take to get to the airplane on E27. Let's look at E27. So you got to get to the airport here from each of the following locations while avoiding each bear, staying out of their range. So in other words, if you're here, you can't just go through here because you'd be going through bear territory, so you have to go round and round and round. Each cell takes 1 minute to cross. Do not count the starting cell. You can move in any direction, including diagonals, but you cannot swim. So you have to avoid the bare ranges, and you also have to avoid the water. But you can move diagonally. So that's 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, and so on. So that is a fun one to play around with. But like I said, I want to keep this to slightly less ambitious stuff. If you can get 770 points on one of these cases, you'll be doing very well for yourself if you're kind of starting off. And once you get to the stage where you're ready to go and tackle more advanced things, I think actually Excel Wizard Bo Ridabon has a video on this particular case. I've got a few other videos talking about how you can use circular references to figure out, given the distance to the airport from here, how does that relate to the distance to the airport from all the cells around it, and so on. It's a little bit complicated, but it's a trick that you can learn, that you can get used to. But like I said, that's out of scope for this course, so I'm not going to say any more about that today. All right, that's what I got for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back with more lookup specific tips during the rest of the week. See you next time.